So wait till again discipuli que. In our last video, we talked about identifying the conjugation of verbs. In that video, you may have noticed we talked about the first person form of the verb. We said the first principal part is the first person singular form, the form that has I in front of it in English. It's time to talk a little bit more about the persons of verbs. Now, you may be familiar with the term from your literature class, where the third person narrator is somebody who's outside of the story, or at least who's talking about what other people are doing. A first person narrator says what he or she is doing. I did this, I did that. It helps if we think of the three persons of the verb as, or if we picture verbs taking place in a conversation. The first person is speaking of himself, herself, or themselves. I am doing this. We were doing that. The second person is the person that the first person is speaking to. You are doing, you are seeing, you heard. That's the second person. The third person is anybody else who's not part of the conversation, who's not the speaker or the speaker being spoken to. He, she, it, they, whoever it is, that's the third person. And that may help us understand that a little bit. Now let's take a look at the endings here. In English, we have these pronouns, or for the third person, actually any noun, to tell us who the subject is. In Latin, we have pronouns. We don't need to use them as much because we have these endings. Notice if it ends in O, or sometimes M, most regular verbs is going to be O. But O or M, that's the first person singular. The subject is I. And the plural of that first person plural is mus. So if a verb ends in mus, it means we. We are doing whatever. And we don't need the pronouns because we've got those endings. If the verb ends in S, it's you singular. That's the second person. And you singular and you plural sound the same in English. Most other languages, they don't. Tis, if the verb ends in tis, that means you plural. And the third person, if it's he, she, it, or some sort of singular noun, the girl, the man, the horse, the ship, whatever else, ends in T. And the plural of that, NT. So what that means is if we see this verb form, paro means I prepare. First person ends in O. But if it ends in T, notice that's third person. He prepares, or she prepares, or it prepares. All right? So that is all we need to know in order to do exercise 3 on page 20 in your textbook.